Let's go to the Liberty University Newsmaker line. Good friend from the great state of Georgia. All you WDUN listeners know who I'm talking about. Our good friend Congressman Jody Hice. Hey, Congressman, how's it going today?
Doing great, Todd. Good to talk with you.
You know, you hear people like Ilhan Omar, Maxine Waters, people in the mainstream media. Do you buy into the argument that Senator Ted Cruz posited earlier today when he said the Democrats really do want to see violence in the streets?
Yeah, I mean, how else do you explain this? I mean, we have had rioting taking place off and on throughout our country for a year now, and they have done nothing to stop it. And these are, of course, in Democratic-run states or cities, and the Democrats have sat by and allowed the looting, the arson, the destruction of personal property, the assaulting of individual private citizens' lives, on and on and on, and they have done nothing to stop it. We had 2 years ago Maxine Waters coming out against the president's cabinet saying if you see them in a restaurant or getting gas or whatever, let them know that they're not welcome here anywhere anymore. And now we have more of this rhetoric. This is not an isolated statement by Maxine Waters and some of the others. These are comments that have been consistent with their nature literally for years. How else do you explain it but that they actually want this type of behavior because they continue to incite it?
We have been hearing reports that some Democrats might even be willing to sign on with some sort of a censure. Are you hearing those reports? And if you can you name any names?
I cannot name any names. I could be suspect, but I've not heard any names, but I am hearing the same kind of rumors. Interesting, Todd, if she is censored, from my understanding, she will be removed as the chair of her committees. So she would not be removed from the committees themselves necessarily, but from the position of chair. So that's a pretty significant punishment.
Well, I mean, there does need to be a message sent here that we just cannot and will not tolerate this kind of language coming from any elected leader. This is appalling. And when you look and see, go back to January the 6th, and you have President Trump out there saying, hey, be peaceful out there. And then you have Maxine Waters telling people to get out there and become more confrontational. And then a couple of hours later, you have two members of the National Guard that were injured in a shooting, and the mainstream media is silent about that.
Well, exactly. And Maxine Waters, interesting, made those comments to rioters, telling rioters to get more confrontational. What is the next step beyond a riot? I mean, they're already burning and destroying personal property. I mean, it's like war is the next step. When you tell rioters to get more confrontational, that is an outcome that is horrible, because already they're engaging in criminal, illegal activity, and to tell them to do even more is just, it really is mind-boggling compared to what happened on January 6th, both with the president and many others who simply stood up for free and fair elections. And the attempts from the Democrats were to expel members of Congress, kick them off committees, and all sorts of punishment for just doing our constitutional duty. But they totally turn the head the opposite direction when it involves members of their own party who are literally inciting violence.
Congressman, I'm curious to get your take on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis putting out this anti-riot legislation, now the law of the land in Florida.
Governor DeSantis is a tremendous leader. He is a great conservative. He is a brilliant individual. He is going to make sure that this is going to stand the legal test. And listen, I think he's drawing a line in the sand as to what is going to be tolerated and not tolerated in Florida. As you look at what these Democrats are allowing to take place in other parts of the country, Governor DeSantis is just drawing a line in the sand and saying you're not going to be able to get away with that here. End of discussion. I think it's a great move.
On the Liberty University Newsmaker line, our good friend from Georgia, Congressman Jody Hice. Congressman, where do we go from here as a country? It seems as though the unrest continues to get more volatile every single day. And meanwhile, we have a very dangerous situation unfolding along our southern border. And quite frankly, nobody's paying much attention to that these days in the media.
No, and not only the media, the current administration is not paying attention to it. Here you have Kamala Harris, vice president, who has been tapped to take care of the border, to deal with it, and she doesn't even want to talk about it, let alone visit. And I was in a briefing this morning about what's happening at the southern border with the latest numbers and the latest information, and it continues to be horrible. We are seeing absolutely the worst invasion, if you want to call it that, illegal crossings of our border than we have ever seen in the history of our country, and we are not equipped to deal with it. And this administration is totally silent and refuses to do anything to address the problem.
All right, Congressman, we are going to have to leave it there. We always appreciate your great work. We know you're a busy guy, and thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day.
Always great to be with you, Todd. Thank you so much.
All right, Congressman Jody Hice right there, folks, one of the good guys.